Alright, so let's continue with the intangible asset with indefinite useful life. Alright, for intangible asset with indefinite useful life, no amortization expense will be provided. Alright, but okay, an impairment test was to be conducted annually or whenever there is an indication of impairment. So how to conduct the impairment test? By comparing the carrying amount and its recoverable amount. Alright, how to determine the recoverable amount? The recoverable amount is the higher of fair value less cost to sell and the value in use. Alright, and I hope that you look further into the definition of value in use. Alright, what happen if the intangible items carrying amount is higher than the recoverable amount? Then we are going to provide for the impairment loss. Okay, impairment loss was to be recognized. All right, and the carrying amount is to be restated to its recoverable amount. Okay, any change, okay, from indefinite life to finite life is a change in accounting estimate, meaning that there will be a change to the asset carrying amount. Okay, all right. So let's look at one example, okay, for intangible asset with indefinite useful life. So how should we discuss on the accounting treatment for this asset? All right, example 11. TV4 Berhad acquired a broadcasting license from the government for 2 million. The license may be renewed every 10 years at minimal cost. TV4 Berhad has every intention of renewing the license. The license is expected to generate cash flow for an indefinite period of time. Okay, so discuss the accounting treatment for this transaction. All right. Whenever you are required to discuss starting from year of acquisition of asset, okay, you have to discuss on the recognition of asset. You have to discuss on the measurement and also the subsequent measurement of asset. All right, so we start from the recognition. Okay, a broadcasting license, okay, can be recognized as intangible asset with an initial cost of 2 million because it meets the definition and the recognition of intangible asset. Okay, the broadcasting license was identifiable, controllable, and probable that future economic benefit will flow to the entity. The cost can be measured reliably. Since the estimated useful life is indefinite, therefore no amortization expense to be provided, okay, for broadcasting license. All right, however, an impairment test was to be conducted annually or whenever there is an indication for impairment. Okay, whenever there is an indication for impairment. Okay, so that's it. Okay, if you want to include the carrying amount, so as at the end of the year, the carrying amount for broadcasting license was RM2 million ringgit. All right, okay, let's look at another example. Alright, example 12, another example for intangible asset with indefinite useful life. In 2014, Hari Berhad succeeded in securing a license from the Selangor government to operate a bus service in the Klang Valley for an indefinite period. No costs were incurred, but directors estimated that present value of future cash inflows to be 25 million. On 1st January 2016, the Selangor government awarded the operating license to several other companies while limiting the operating period to only 2 years. Consequently, Hari estimated that the present value of expected cash flow declined to 10 million. So explain the accounting treatment for year ended 31st December 2014 and 2016. Alright, so the first question that we need to answer is, can we recognize this license as intangible asset? Yes. Alright, yes, a license is an intangible asset because it meets the definition and recognition of intangible asset. The license is identifiable, controllable, and probable that future economic benefit will flow to the entity, and the cost of 25 million can be measured reliably. Okay, all right. Okay, and the other thing that we need to discuss is whether or not we are going to provide for amortization. Okay, since the license has an indefinite useful life, no amortization expense, okay, to be provided for the license. Okay, right. So at the end of the year, the carrying amount is, okay, the carrying amount was 25 million. All right, but then something happened in 1st January 2016. So what happened here? Okay, what happened here is that the Selangor government also award the license to other companies. All right, and the government also limit the operating period from indefinite period to only 2 years. All right, so what does it mean here? And then you have been given another information, which is the present value of expected cash flow. Okay, so present value of expected cash flow is value in use. So what is value in use? That is the recoverable amount. All right, so it indicates that in this question there is a probability of impairment of asset. All right, so where is the indication for impairment of asset in this question? Okay, the impairment is when there is a change in the estimated useful life from indefinite period to only 2 years. Okay, that's why they review the recoverable amount of this asset. Okay, so as usual, before we continue with our accounting treatment, okay, with the discussion or explanation of accounting treatment, okay, I would prefer you if you prepare the okay, working first. Okay, if you prepare the working. Okay, so as usual, when you prepare the working, make sure you start from, okay, you start from the date of acquisition, which is somewhere in year 2014. Okay, the Selangor government award to this company a license. All right, so a license. Okay, and the initial cost of license is the cash equivalent, which is the present value of future cash inflow. That is their best estimate. All right, so the cost at that time, okay, is 25 million. Because there is no amortization to be provided, so this cost also will become the carrying amount at the end of the year, okay, at the beginning of year 2015 and at the end of year 2015 the amount would be the same. Okay, however, in year 2016 there is an indication for impairment where the government also award the same license to the other company and limit the period to only 2 years. Therefore, they perform an impairment test and they determine the recoverable amount. So what happened here? Okay, the carrying amount is 25 million. The recoverable amount given in the question is 10 million. Okay, so carrying amount is higher than the recoverable amount. Hence, okay, there is an impairment loss of 15 million. Okay, what happened if the recoverable amount is higher than the carrying amount? Then there is no need for us to provide for impairment loss. Okay, we don't have to do anything. Okay, but because of recoverable amount is lower than the carrying amount, then we need to provide for impairment loss. Okay, so how much is the impairment loss? The difference between the carrying amount and recoverable amount. In this case, it is 15 million. Alright, and then in year 2016, what happened? Because there is a limit to the useful life, so we need to provide for amortization expense. Alright, we need to provide for amortization expense. Alright, for 2 years, so 10 million is to be divided by 2 years. Alright, so 5 years amortization. Sorry, 5 million amortization expense. So at the end of the year, the carrying amount is 5 million. Okay. If you are required to prepare the journal entry, the journal entry would be for year 2016, debit SOPA, impairment loss 15 million, credit accumulated impairment loss 15 million. For year 2016, debit SOPA, amortization expense 5 million, credit amortization expense, credit accumulated amortization 5 million. Okay. If you are required to prepare for year 2014, the only transaction that we are going to prepare for is debit license, okay, 25 million, right, and credit cash or payables depending on the method of payment. All right, that's it. Okay, right, so based on this working, we're going to prepare we are going to prepare our discussion, okay, for year 2014. So what happened in year 2014? Only the acquisition of intangible asset. Okay, so for year ended 31st December 2014, the license acquired from the Selangor government was to be recognized as an intangible asset at its initial cost of 25 million because it met the definition and recognition of intangible asset. The license was identifiable, controllable, and probable that future economic benefit will flow to the entity. The cost also can be measured reliably. Since the useful life is indefinite, no amortization was to be provided, but the impairment test was to be conducted annually or whenever there was an indication for impairment. As at 31st December 2014, the carrying amount of license was 25 million. Alright, and then you are required to discuss for year 2016. Okay, because of no amortization provided, the carrying amount would remain unchanged. So as at 1st January 2016, the carrying amount of license was 25 million. On the same date, there was an indication for impairment of asset because the Selangor government awarded the same license to other companies as well and limiting the operating period to 2 years only. Hence, an impairment test was to be conducted by comparing the carrying amount and the recoverable amount. So you have to mention about that, okay, to show that you know what happened, right? And then you know what to do. The recoverable amount was the present value of expected cash flow, which was 10 million. Therefore, an impairment loss of 15 million was to be provided and recognized in SOPL as an expense because the carrying amount of 25 million was higher than the recoverable amount of 10 million. The carrying amount of license was to be restated to its recoverable amount. Okay, since the estimated useful life was limited to 2 years only and amortization expense was to be provided at 5 million. Okay, so how to calculate this one? 10 million divided by 2 every year. As at 31st December 2016, the carrying amount of license was 5 million. Alright, so as I said before, okay, always start your discussion with the carrying amount at the beginning of the year and the carrying amount at the end of the year. In the year of purchase, we have to discuss on the recognition, we have to discuss on the measurement and also on the subsequent measurement if possible, and with the carrying amount at the end of the year. Alright,